So let's see. All right, Joe, let's go to the next page. This begins to dive down into the formats, the type of series, and then of most interest, the valuation and a couple of discussion topics for today. So to really be able to determine which series, which individual card in the Hodove catalog, you really need to understand the layout of the cards. And going from the upper left is either a description or a message. The description on the cards for towns are generally of that town. In the upper right, indicia is the design with value. That's the 16 different ones that are major varieties that are listed in the main body of the catalog. Address, postal code. The bottom center is one of the key things where some of the different types of varieties are listed, and it gives the price of the card, as well as often the name of the printer. The name of the printer and copyright are in the vertical bar in the center, and the lower left gives technical details. You'll notice that this card, one of the original series, one foreign, that was the basic rate for a domestic postal card in the early 80s, excuse me, but the cost of the card was 3 foreign. I think in all cases, the cost of the card to a buyer was in excess of the postage required to send it. And let me go back to the lower left, where the photographer or the organization that did the photography is listed, as well as the series number and serial number. So 895 is a series number, the serial number is 832, and those change within the series. So I had to master these fields to be able to really profitably use the new catalog.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is kind of the setup. And so, Joe, let's go to the next one.
Oh, you have a question though.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the last picture, in the 832, it's the year 83 and the second quarter of the year.
Okay.
So that in this number is also the year of the issue.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Any other builds on that card? I mean, on that, on the formats.
George, so the entire cost was 4 forints? Or
No.
I believe it was 3.
So the 1 foreign postage is included in the 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
The other point I want to make on the thing at the bottom center is quite often they were revalued. And when I show illustrations related to the pricing in a few charts, you'll see either where they were surcharged with a device or handwritten, the 3 foreign goes to 5 or whatever the next increment was. So any other builds on this chart, because it's important to understand really how to identify individual cards in the catalog. All right, let's go to the next chart. There are 4 major occasions. And so the greeting cards, and I put the illustration on the back of the cards on a couple of the next charts, and then flip to the obverse of the cards because it tells the story better. So the greeting cards are in the upper right, tend to be flowers. Easter cards have serious themes, cartoons, and other things from Easter that were customary. The Christmas and New Year cards, there were a few depictions of the Holy Family, a lot, particularly in the earlier communist period, were more New Year's cards. And then the topographical cards, and that's what Hobebe called them, are really towns that depict, I mean, they show towns, and many of them have illustrations of multiple scenes in those towns. So those are the four major occasions for this time period. Next. Greeting cards. 9 major listings. And so the point I want to make is not all of the 4 occasions used all of the different indicia and all of the different rates. It really depended on what years they were issued. So for greeting cards, it's 2 to 10 forint. When you get to Christmas cards, it's 1 to 12. So there are 14 series and 277 greeting cards. I've found the greeting cards are fairly common, but not as common as either the Easter cards or the Christmas, New Year ones. And those are representative designs on the back of the cards. Next card.
George, may I ask?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were there cards specifically for name days?
I have not found those, but I have not looked for them.
Mhm. That would be 365,
Yeah.
roughly.
And that's a very good question. I don't know if you take name days and look for illustrations, if there's any correlation. Okay. Easter cards. The kinds of topics are fairly predictable for Easter. More series, a little longer time period, and about twice the number of cards. Many of these are common. I prefer used cards to mint cards, because presumably that's the real reason they were issued. A couple of the indicia types, the ones on the left part of this card, are unique to really these kinds of cards. They were not also used for, if you will, the regular issues, the definitive issues of the cards. And here you can see an examples. And if you look carefully, I made a mistake in the bottom left. That's a Christmas card. That's not an Easter card.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Yep. Merry Christmas, but also Happy Easter. Okay. If you have comments, I can't see them. I just can see the screen. So please interrupt. Next chart. Christmas and New Year's cards, 1,000 different, many series. Every single major indicia is covered. The one I really want to focus on, because it's the most interesting to me, is the one in the lower left, because these were printed in Cuba. There are notes in Shimade and Hodobe that they were printed in Cuba. Does anyone on the call know why they were printed in Cuba rather than Hungary?
No.
Is that a trick question?
That's a question.
No, is it a trick question?
No, I'm not smart enough on this topic to be able to frame it that way. It's a very honest question.
What was happening in Cuba in 85 to 86?
The only thing that I can suggest, and I have no proof for it, is that it may have been kind of an exchange of services provided. The Cubans had many series of postal stationery that they'd done locally, certainly from the late 70s. I collect those as well. And so this was a service they might have been able to provide Hungary as part of the bartering for stamps and philatelic materials.
Yeah.
But that is speculation.
Sounds good.
And the cards printed in Cuba, I find significantly more difficult to find than the other Christmas and New Year's cards used. So, okay. Next chart. One page on the topographical, or if you will, town cards. Overwhelming in scope, nearly 1,800. I counted 446 different place names. And so it isn't just Budapest. It isn't the tourist areas around Lake Balaton, the other regional cities of which are very tourist centric and so on. It is pervasive. Most of the types, but only a 6-year period. The next chart, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. And these are, I have found, much more difficult to find. And let's wait for the next, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, George, I have a question. All of these are listed in Hobode, all 1,800?
All 1,800, and it takes, 50, 70 pages. Well, there it is. That would be 75 pages to list them all.
Huh.
And more importantly, illustrate them all.
That's what I was going to ask, if the pictures of all of them are in there. So
Yeah,
Yes.
and they need to be able to differentiate them. And
That's amazing.
wow.
I started doing my own database of these using the updates to the Shamati catalogs, and that was a nightmare. And part of it was that he put a baseline in when these started coming out in the early 80s. And then more cards would be uncovered. And so his listing for, if you will, the first addendum listing, the first section would be, these cards have been found. And he had already numbered them. And so he had to find a way to be consistent with his existing numbering schema and add to it. By the time he'd done that for 4 or 5 catalogs, it was incredibly complex. And I could not, since I don't speak and read Hungarian, follow exactly where I was. So the first thing I looked at when I found about this catalog and got a copy was this section. And his organization is brilliant. And it will save me so much time identifying what I have and figuring out what I need. So any other comments on this card? I do have one. If you look at the bottom of the card at the left, you can see the price, the selling price of the card was scratched out. So Paul, I think there's a whole subspecialty, I'll get to it on the next chart, of the uprates to the cards.
Yeah.
So, which would make this topic even more complex. So next chart, and this is one of the 2 most important ones, pricing. The prices of the special event cards are modest. The mint ones, that would translate to say, 30 to 35 cents to $1 a card, and the used ones half that. The topographical cards you can see are much more expensive. mint ranging $3 to say $5 each, and used $1 to maybe $2 each, which is fine if you want to buy one or two. If you're trying to complete 3,600, it gets to be expensive. The new catalog does a really good job of listing some of the major varieties, and they are depicted in the upper center of this page. The surcharged one is in the extreme upper left, and you can see that they overprinted the card with a new valuation. So since it is a Easter card, rather than being priced modestly 1 to 300 foreign, it's at least 1,500. The double print card is in the next one right underneath it, and you can see that the whole impression of this side of the card is correctly right side up and upwards and backwards. This particular view is different than the one shown in the catalog. So Paul, I don't know, for example, on the double prints, how many different cards are known with the double print. He lists
Not,
some, but this
not
one
so
is
many.
not listed by him.
no, not so many.
Not so
Only
many,
a few. Yeah.
only a few. But
Yeah,
my suspicion is there may be more,
maybe one.
maybe.
No, I
Um,
know there are more, but
There are
not-
more.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this
Uh,
is is special because the black print and the red print is upside down. It's double.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
The next one, which is in the upper right, is the black card. For the indicia for the three foreign, for most of the cards you can see is in blue, in the one directly underneath it, as are most of the call it definitive cards, the regular issue ones. This is cataloged at 4,000 foreign, the most expensive one that I could find listed, but that's all of $12 to $15. Since I try to collect these used, I find the international usages are far more scarce. And Paul, I suspect the ones you have may be European centric.
No, the most I have is used in Hungary
Within Hungary,
Because-
right?
because I bought them in Hungary. Yeah.
Okay. The ones I have are not from Europe. They're from the United States.
Yeah.
Well, United Kingdom, that's off the coast of Europe, and Australia. This one is the most interest because of the addressee. VOA is Voice of America, and this was a sweepstakes that VOA had in 1992 to commemorate their 50th anniversary. And the sweepstakes promised, I think it was 10 people's name would be drawn for a lottery for a free trip to the United States. I lived in the Washington, D.C. area at this time. Many of the VOA cards came out through philatelic channels to D.C. So for the U.S., this is a particularly interesting one. It's the only one of the VOA cards I have for these view cards. And then down below, you can see different types of the uprating of the cards, some mechanical, the one that's immediately below the VOA card. And the others are all three foreign cards with different upratings, which probably indicates that they were sold in different years as the rates went up.
Yes.
So any comments? This is probably the most important chart in the chart deck. Any comments? Any questions?
Yeah. What's the message on the, that long, one word message diagonally? Do you know what that word is?
Which one are you looking at? Al?
See, it's on the right top, bottom right top.
Okay.
The message is one word.
The message would be a town name.
No, sorry.
Wrong
Am I
town.
looking
No.
at the right one?
No. It's you can read it. If you look at the handout, you can blow it up.
Okay.
It starts off Koenigsegg, and then I can't, my eyesight isn't good enough, but
Yeah, Koenigsegg, yes.
and it starts off with Koenigsegg, and then
He's
sorry.
Yeah,
Koenigsegg.
I have the illustrations here. I think there may be a second word.
I was just curious. I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt
yeah.
all of your presentation. Sorry for that. It's unusual.
Yeah. I'll keep looking. So any other comments on the pricing?
Yeah, sorry, can you just explain, George? I'm
Yeah.
so have these actually got what are I don't know the stamps from this period. So are these actually pre-affixed or are these printed? Have they got printed stamps on them, or are they actual? Have they been affixed, or what are they on the top? What are they?
Affixed stamps.
They're
So
fixed,
what-
they
They're
are
actual stamps,
printed.
are they?
In Postal Stationery, the design with the value for the rate would be called indicia.
So what is the motif? So I mean, are these what are these the motif of these various pre-printed values?
Some of them are identical to
Well, obviously,
designs for postage stamps.
Oh, right.
The letter box, for example, on this one. But I would say most of the designs are unique to Postal Stationery.
Yipper. Special these blue ones. This is the map of Hungary.
Yeah, well, that one I got, Paul. Yeah, I was pretty. Oh, you don't get any prizes for getting that one. Okay. No. But I mean, how many of these are there? I mean, are there how many of these different motifs are there?
16.
Okay, 16.
Yeah.
And some of them are just copies of or the same design as
Right.
postage stamps which were being circulated in that period.
Right.
And some of them are unique to the actual postal stationery.
Right. For example, the Bridget, well, I'm not sure. I would say most of them are unique to Postal Stationery. So any other questions or comments on pricing or the topic? So I have one final chart.
Hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah, Robert, we can hear you.
Yes, I have a question. Recently, I got across a sports card, tennis. You didn't talk anything about sports cards.
About the postcard?
Sports.
No, there are
Sports
no
cards.
sports cards.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The postcard from
Right.
tennis. Never seen anything like that?
George, have you seen something? He's saying, have you seen sports cards, like a series,
No,
especially for
not sports
tennis?
cards.
Oh,
Not
no.
as postal stationery.
No, not stationary. It's a
Yeah.
postcard.
I don't collect Hungarian postcards. Just the postal cards, such as these.
That's a postal card. I'll send you
Okay,
the picture. I
thank
don't know
you.
I don't know where I put it. I will find it and I'll send you the picture.
Okay, thank you. I do have a couple of examples where somebody took a regular postal card and then put their own design on the back. And I think it was in the one foreign period. It was at the early days of this period. So, so any more comments on this before we go to the last chart? Joe, why don't we go to the last one? Because these are really discussion topics. How much interest is there in this particular topic among the folks on the phone? How many of you collect this?
These years or other
Okay.
periods?
First, a good question. First, this particular area, the 1983 to 1994 cards. I know Paul does.
No, I don't collect them. I have them, but I don't
You have
collect
them.
Well, George, there's
Yeah.
a lot of other areas in postal stationery. If you look at the 1800s, and there's even more modern ones. So it might be a study group might be interested in a broader.
Okay. Alan, that was going to be my next question. How many people collect Hungarian postal stationery overall?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
Paul does. Who else?
I
Yes,
do.
I do as
Okay.
well.
Anything that strikes me as interesting, usually the earlies.
Earlier the better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never even known this existed. I mean, I actually have a big pile of these things that one of these days I'll get to them. That's kind of where they've sat.
Yeah.
I mean, this is making my head explode, to be quite honest with you. 3,700 different things to collect. It's like, holy cow.
Well, you're only
And
talking about a short time period too. There's a lot,
Yeah.
much
Exactly.
broader.
I
Yeah.
mean, when I heard what the topic was for today's thing, I'm thinking, how can he talk for all this time over like 5 years? There's what, 20 cards or something? And it's like, holy moly. But the other thing, I hate you now because you now have made this big, huge thing that you could go, and it's so reasonable. You don't have to be really rich or anything. It's blowing my mind, to be honest with you. But it would seem to be a perfect kind of thing to do within this new world we live in, where everybody can talk to each other. I mean, heck, we can send Chabo off to his local stamp show and just tell him, buy all these things, and then he can offer them up, and then we can end up swapping them back and forth and everything. I mean, be like when we were little kids swapping baseball cards. I mean, this is awesome.
Chris, my reaction was similar to yours. It was kind of an oh my goodness reaction. And then, do I really want to get involved in this, even though I may have a whole shoebox of them?
Yeah, the other thing is, how do you store them, and how do you illustrate them? Stuff sitting in a shoebox never looks all that good. But this is just amazing. All these different pictures and stuff. As far as your next question there, do we need a database of cards that's sortable? Shoot, we have this catalog here that's just, quite frankly, I had found very little use in this thing, because this new catalog, the the Hodabe.
The
Only
Hodabe.
because only because I couldn't understand it. But this section alone makes it worth what I paid for it. I mean, it's just totally amazing.
Mhm.
But I'd be curious to know, how do you buy these things? I mean, it's not like you can go buy these things on eBay.
Yeah, Darabont has them. You can look at the Darabont auctions. They have hundreds of them in every auction.
Do they sell them in big lots? Is that how they're sold?
They sell them in big lots too. There's I've picked up a few of them just so I can see what they are, but they have them in lots of 100, and the starting bid is 1,000 for it. And so, you know, $3-4, you can get hundreds of these.
Wow.
Alan, I've looked at Darabont heavily the last 5 years for these. I found very few dedicated ones. The scarce varieties were individual items in Darabont. That's where they came from, like the double card and the black card.
Yeah.
I've had to buy bulk lots of modern Hungarian covers and hope that more than 1% of them are this area. That's where the bulk of mine have come from. Very painful.
It would seem to me if we were to get a number of people collecting these things, I think soon as Darabont knows that there's people who are focusing only on these type of items, he'd probably be more than happy to go through all. Can you imagine how much common, everyday stuff like this he's got sitting around? And I bet you he would list them up lickety split.
George, anything you can tell us about your storage method?
Mine's in a shoebox, arranged by denomination. Until I got the catalog recently, I didn't have a way to systematically arrange them, which would be probably take each design type in the sequence of the major Hodabe catalog numbers, so they're chronological, and then list them in the order he illustrates them in his catalog.
Right. That makes the most sense.
And Chris, if I can build on the database, the catalog that came out is great for documenting it all, but it's spread over 125 pages, and you have to refer back to the main section of the catalog to see what the details of production were and the sub varieties. Otherwise, it's catalog number, say, 695B. How is that different from 695A? And we need the database to be able to really have something that you or I or anyone else can say, I've got this combination. How many different things do I need to look at? And then I can arrange them in a way that makes sense and store them properly.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm still a little overwhelmed on this whole thing, to be honest with you. I mean, it took me half of your presentation to even find the. I was looking for the table of contents.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that table of contents. And I look in the front of the book, and it's like, where is it? Where's this thing? It wouldn't dawn on me to look at this second to last page to find the table of contents. Kind of took me for a. So once I figured that out, then I started matching what you were talking about to the. I mean, I have the catalog sitting here right now, right in front of me, and then I finally figured that out. And now I'm looking at each of the individual stamps, and I'm thinking, okay, I can understand a stamp and a picture and a the value thing in there. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more 9 columns to figure out. So I'm still in a very deep learning curve.
I'm pretty sure that the Hungarian practice is to put the tartalone, which is the table of contents, at the back.
At the back.
Really?
Yeah, you have a copy of the monograph here. And yeah, the index, the table of contents, the word is tartalone. Is at the back, at the end. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I've had so much trouble reading Hungarian catalogs.
It's like the Hebrew Bible, Chris.
Yeah.
You start at the other end.
So,
Didn't think I'd learn that stuff today.
so back to a couple of questions. For the broader scope of postal stationery, would it make sense to consider a study group within the society?
What would be the purpose of the study group? I mean, and again, I'm still so far down the learning curve. I mean, to me, it seems like once you can figure out how many items, I mean, we've got what 3,700 of them. We've got pictures of them. I'm not exactly sure what would be left. Would it be just studying the anomalies that popped up, those inverted things that you had, and some other stuff like that, or usages, or what would be the purpose? I mean, I'm still struggling just to figure out what's going on here. You're obviously further down the road.
Right. Let me answer that first with this topic and then more broadly postal stationery. And this relates to a project that Joe, Bob, and I are working on check perfins right now, where we've done an inventory of the major holdings in the United States. And it as at the level of the individual device type and the individual stamp for the first issue, the Hrachiny, which is the most popular one. And as a result, we have been able to see some patterns in terms of usage, both for the stamps used and for the device type, and have identified some things not listed in the new check monograph catalog that has recently been issued. So, Chris, that suggests a couple of things. For example, are the mint cards much more common than the used ones, or the other way? And is that different in North America than it is in Hungary?
Good question.
Right? Secondly, are there ones that are very common? I would say some of the Christmas, New Year's ones, and then some of the ones that are in the town view cards that are extremely scarce because the printing quantities on the town view cards go down to 2,000.
Okay, wow.
Many of the, I sorry I didn't put the printing quantities in here. I'm not done sorting through it. Some of the Christmas ones are often 50 or 100,000 per individual item.
Wow.
So yeah, so I think that would then begin to fill in what we have in North America. The bigger question is, in the preparation of the catalog, was something comparable done in Hungary? Which is going to be much larger in scale than we would possibly have here in North America. So Chris, does that kind of answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's where, and I'm happy to set up the database. It's something I enjoy doing because it's a challenge, but it's how I learn.
It is a challenge.
Yeah. The issue for a study group with an SHP, I think, is broader. For example, my suspicion is there are a lot of people who enjoy the 1896 millennia cards. And so there are probably a number of people, and we got to one of the root issues. How many 5 Kreutzer, sorry for the German pronunciation, cards do we have used?
Yeah.
Right. And then with some of the varieties, are there gaps in usage used, even in some of the varieties of the 2 KR cards?
Yeah.
And what constitutes unusual destinations for them?
Wow.
So that would be, I would think the next one in Postal Stationery, because I know Alan Bauer is going to be looking for additional topics when he's done with this list, is millennia cards might be a terrific thing to be the next focus in Postal Stationery.
George, I have a question.
Yeah.
The cards at the beginning of your period, 1983,
Right.
did they have a period of validity, or could they be used even today if they were uprated?
I really need to go back. I have cases where cards, say with 5 foreign postage, were used at a rate of 50 or 52 foreign, which had to be a decade later.
Well,
so yeah, it isn't just within that period or say the one that immediately followed. Those ones used a decade later, probably not surprisingly, I suspect are philatelic.
George?
Yeah.
George,
Go ahead.
here is the card what I'm talking about. Can you make it out?
I can't.
No,
It's blurry.
Right there, stop. No, back a little.
back.
There, stop right there.
Ah. Yeah, that's a different kind of postcard.
1981.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
this
only
one-
printed on one side.
Is that the tennis design? It's a little blurry.
Oh.
The Thursday cover from 1981.
Yeah.
I'll send you a good
Yeah. I'm familiar with the design. That is different than this. Hungary issued in from what, the mid 1970s, 15 to 25 roughly commemorative postal cards a year.
This postal card is 1981, April 28.
Okay.
Thursday cover. I'll send you a good spell.
No, it's in the catalog. It's number 263. Issued on April 28th.
Sandy Martin,
And it's on page 87 of the catalog.
I'll send you
So,
a spell.
kind of to wrap up the discussion on study group. Would it make sense to put forth a short proposal for what a study group might focus on?
Well, George, would you, can you do that?
I'd be happy to do that.
What we can do, we only have a small percentage of members on the call. We have about 20 members on the call. So that can be sent around to the broad membership list, and
Okay.
that would be a much better gauge of whether people are
Okay.
interested in doing a study group.
Okay.
I can
That's a great
send it
idea.
around if you would put forth a proposal.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can send it around if you
Okay.
generate the
Yeah.
proposal.
Yep. Will
And
do.
we can tweak it a little bit. So if you send it to me, we can go through it, and maybe a couple, you might get another volunteer. I don't know, Joe, would you look at it and, work with George?
Figure out how to unmute myself. Sure, I would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, if we got a couple people that are
Yeah.
interested, I'm sure there's a much broader audience that would be interested in that. So why don't we start that way?
Okay. And then I also volunteered myself to start working up the database. Paul, it would help me to have somebody that either collects them or has a significant accumulation as I set up the fields for it, to look over my shoulder on it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay.
And, does this communicate well?
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. And then the final topic was, is there a group within the Society in Hungary that's already focused as a study group on overall postal stationery, or more specifically, these issues?
No, there is one for the overall postal
Overall.
stationery,
Okay,
and Peter Kido Walvi is the leader of that.
okay,
And there's also an internet Bejek club, internet stamp club, lead by Marian Chatloos.
okay,
And there are members collecting postal stationery.
terrific.
And Marian Chatloos speaks English
Okay,
very well. And Peter Kido Walvi speaks German. And of
Okay.
course, Hungarian.
okay. Paul, I'll get the information from you after the
Yeah.
call.
I
Okay,
will,
terrific.
I
Okay,
will give it.
so I hope you enjoyed
Can
this.
you write in German?
No.
Oh, I can help.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's also, I have also the link with Andor Hodderby,
Yes,
but he speaks only Hungarian and French.
Mhm.
And fortunately, I speak also a little bit French, so I correspond with him in French.
thank you.
So it's multi-language in my room here.
Good thing.
So, anyway, that's the topic for today. Very different than the classic first issue or perfins. I hope you've enjoyed dipping a toe into this, and I hope we can take postal stationery somewhere within SHP.
That's very good. George, thank you very much. It was
you.
fascinating, and it's amazing to see all those different examples, and look forward to seeing more. I'm gonna look at my catalog and get more deeply into it.
George, we will have to say that I have been paying attention lately to perfins.
It's Joe.
So
Yeah, that too.
something tells me I will be paying attention to more recent postal stationery.
Yes,
Okay.
I think.
Keep my
And
eye
Paul,
on-
and for Paul, I made those changes to the brief that I gave,
yes.
and I sent it to Alan. He's
Yep.
gonna post it up. So you're gonna be
Yep.
credited with the latest perfin here soon.
And Paul sent me the supplements for the perfins. I have a final proof to do, Alan. I should be able